it up from G to J, or they use them interchangeably.
And sometimes they spell it DJ.
Or the job, the same thing. Is that what you kind of referring
No,
to?
like Gina, spelled DJINA. That's another name for the jinn. In Arabic, sometimes it's spelled DJINN. Right? So the reason that is because it's telling you the story, and you have to find out where the pieces go in your book of life. We all got a book of life, which allow us to go through life and find out and discover the self. This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
So in the George Washington Challenge, we had to educate ourselves out the condition while they deny us education. We had to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but they wasn't going to let us have boots. They was going to take all our boots and deny us from being able to purchase boots. Right? So we can't financially come up because they got us blocked. We can't educationally come up. So how do we get educated? We got to figure out how to create a brotherhood. Inner stage right, Prince Hall, Blue House. So then they spread to the Greek fraternities using the Boule philosophy. How do you get the message to the king when you can't talk to the king?
Right.
You play it out in theatrical performance. Right? You put it in dance and song, and you become the jester in the court. But you do it from afar so the king can see the performance, but he don't have to be in the room.
Black nobility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see all of them stomp fests, when they be going to do the stomp off for the fraternities and sororities, that's the equivalent of tribal dancing.
God. Yes,
The only ones that's gonna do tribal dances is the ones from America and the ones from Africa. The ones from Europe don't do tribal dances. They do soldier marches.
Right.
They do drills.
Ain't that just what Putin would just had with his with their ceremony when he invited Ibrahim Traore when he had that big display over there in Russia not too long ago? Didn't they just do that? Something similar to that?
He gave him a whole hero's welcome. That ain't no accident. Ibrahim Traore is doing for Africa what we need to be doing over here. But because the ones of us that's in them positions of power is Snoopy Brown Nose.
Right.
Turncoat double agents. But my man said, I grew up with that. Now he right trying to ride. Double agent for the other side. That's why my Glock be so judgmental. Backseat of the rental. Keep my name out your dental.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, boy. And I'm trying to find a comment, man, because I saw somebody. Let me see if I start. I saw somebody had put a comment about something in regards to about like this information comes from the writer of Star Wars, George Lucas. No, George Lucas got this information from our teachers, from our texts. You go look at the walls of Kemet, anywhere else the hell you want to look.
George Lucas got Star Wars straight out of the Anunnaki tablets.
Yeah,
from us. Like at the end of the day. Like that's nothing new. Like it's just that they didn't whack him because they figured out how he can get money with them. But our teachers that put this out, the Dr. George, the Dr. Blairs, and you know what I'm saying, those masters of the world, they got attempted assassinations or assassinated or they got locked up. You know what I'm saying? Because they were putting the truth out and there was no way that they could take a turn to monetize it like they did with marijuana. When they figured out how to monetize it, that's when they made it legal because they can get money off of it.
What's the common denominator in 99% of all abductions?
What is it?
Genetic testing. Now, why we wasn't getting abducted? Why people like us didn't need to be tested, or the DNA didn't need to be tested? Who is these people testing these people DNA And why they don't want the DNA of the melanated people of the earth?
Well, based on my independent research, when you're talking about the grays, particularly, they're really like a Frankenstein extraterrestrial species they put together, so they don't have the ability of reproduction. So
They're
they got to
hybrids.
together. So they come to this planet to take other species.
Hold on. Let's analyze what we're saying now.
Okay. All right.
Why, if they can't reproduce, why is it so many of them?
Because they're creations, they're hybrids. They're pretty much there. What in the spiritual
Hold on,
space?
stop. They can't reproduce.
Right.
How is it so many of them? It's a way it can happen. But I need you to focus in on what we're saying. They can't reproduce, but it's everybody see them on every ship. Even the people that see the tall grays, they got the little grays with them. Right. That's a template. When they see the big hairy beings, they got the little grays with them. When they see the golden ones, they still got the little grays with them. All of the aliens have little grays with them, and they can't reproduce. There's too many of them. The only way they can do them like that is clone. All right. The next thing is they originally used to look like the sign. Right. But that ain't why they genetic tested. Why did the pale man come to America?
To rape and pillage the land.
No, because we was already getting raped and pillaged before they came.
Oh, okay, I get it. So, like the black mobility used them as pets, just like the rest of the species, the beings that you're talking about use the grays. I got you.
So, in this process, based on what's written in the tablets, they had to get a drop of the blood of the original people. They had other extraterrestrial royalty flying the earth in the early years. This is why you have more information in ancient writings about extraterrestrial communication than modern writings, because they had to give you enough time to clean up the great debauchery, the great genetic waste spill. And to make sure that it's cleaned up, you got to test the ones that look like what you need cleaned up. They ain't got to test us because they know if your melanin is this dark, they already know you can ascend. Your ascension rights is intact.
Right.
But those other people, they didn't know that until like around 1999, they gave them clearance. They got enough of the blood of the royal families of the earth and a couple of other places that they got their ascension rights. Now they have to break past the calcified pineal process. And this is why since 2000, information has been coming out at an alarming rate in order to stimulate their brain so much that it busts that calcification off the pineal. They've been getting light language information. Right now, they've been trying to develop this over the 100-year period from the spiritualist movement of the late 1800s and early 1900s. They was working up systems to break the calcification, but they was also trying to develop a means to get them to amalgamate with the original people. And that's where J. Rogers' writings come in, because he tell you that at first we wouldn't even look at each other. We had no interest. They had to manufacture interest. How do you manufacture an interest where there is no interest? You forbid the interest that you want. And this is where you come up with your black codes.
Yep.
Everything that they want you to do, but they can't force you to do, they restrict you from doing it so you can rebel against them and do what you wanted to do anyway. It's reverse psychology 101, just the basics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's facts. Shout out to Jedi Sage. We appreciate your family for the support. Advanced class mere mortals motherfuckers tap out. That's real though, because he definitely in an advanced class tonight, buddy. This is very advanced, high level conversation for sure. You know what? And I'm glad. I wish I would have thought about it. I meant to look this up before we got on, but hopefully y'all seen this, but there was a show that came out, and if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, I want to say it might have been a Marvel show. I can't remember, but anyways, it had Samuel L. Jackson in it as like one of the lead characters. But in this particular show, it was about them and then reptilian beings who there was a factions of positive reptilians and then negative reptilians, but reptilians was a major forefront of this show. Did y'all see that series?
I've seen it before. I didn't watch I didn't finish all of it, but I know what you're talking about.
That's a good series, but when I saw that, I was so blown that I'm like, yo, people would think that that's just a show, but I'm like, yo, they putting the truth like right here in real time in our faces, like, and I don't know how many people really know how truthful that is.
They can tell you exactly what happened in the situation and change it from nonfiction to fiction and write different names, and you won't never know they told you the whole story.
That's facts.
Because they have to put it in the public domain. Because your right of discovery in the free will universe have to be honored for you to be kept in servitude.
Exactly.
I'm down to 8%, nephew.
I got you. Yeah, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up because we definitely burnt the whole net and YouTube down for show. I got a question real quick. I'll do like one or two questions if you got it, and then we can get up out of here. So one of these questions is, do we have guests in this family discussion? I think they're asking about how do white people fit into this discussion.
We just got done telling you. Literally.
Right.
We literally just got done telling you what they role was. So when you get off, go back from this part, rewind it about 5 minutes and listen to it again.
Listen, that's funny because part of it's on me too, because it's a lot of chat, it's a lot of comments, y'all. So I'm trying my best to keep up. But y'all doing y'all thing. Please keep doing it. I'm not complaining by the least, but it's just a little challenge for me to keep up with all of them to stay on point in regards to the timing of them. But with that, I'll go ahead before we get out of here, man, because like I said, the first one was a classic. I knew this was going to be epic, and I mean the tribe, they are already saying it too. Where do we go from here, and what are the marching orders for those who are tapped in and operating on this frequency with us?
Don't participate in no artificial riots. Don't let them see you sweat. Just ignore them. What they got going on have nothing to do with us. Right? Our non-participation claps the system. They need our energy involved in their shenanigans in order for them to push their agenda further. We need to not participate in order for their agenda to crumble. Right? So you see brothers down there in LA sitting on bus benches while all of the paid protesters is protesting. They ain't even moving. They like watching a movie. That's what we need to be doing. We the watchers now. We just watching it go past, watching it fall, crumble. We just the watchers. We don't got to do nothing. We did everything we supposed to do when we was doing all that suffering. We ain't got to do nothing now. Just wait it out. Hurry up and wait.
Yep. And
yeah, because they're doing it to each other. It's a civil war.
Yep. Follow the path of the middle way.
Yep.
Stay on the path of Malakut and just, resurrect your own spiritual journey. Just let the house of cards fall. That's really what you got to do. It's one of those things, like I said, it's not our fight. We ain't got nothing to do with that shit.
Look, this is the last thing I want to say. We have treaties. Larry got treaties with Latin counts, with El Chapo, and other Mexicans from the street. Angel Bay got treaties with Latin kings and various other Spanish groups. We don't have a problem with Mexicans. What we have a problem with is participating in a fabricated false narrative that has nothing to do with the Mexicans or us. They don't have nothing to do with the Mexicans, what's going on. That's all staged. People are paid to come there that don't even live there to protest. Let that sink in. The real Mexican connection we have is with some people called the Zapatista, the people that live in the hills in Mexico that follow the teachings of Emilio Zapata, that the settlers who masquerading as Mexicans has been persecuting ever since they've been there. The Afro-Mexicans, they call the ones in the inner city. We had no problem with them. We got a problem with the fakes and the frauds, the ones that come over here and think they better than us.
Yep.
But the ones that come over here and hang out with us, brothers from a lighter shade of brown type Mexicans, we got no problem with them. They know the truth. Kareem Oahu be on here dropping more historical information on YouTube than half the brothers out here that don't know who they are, that think they know.
That's facts. Shout out to Nina to Hack. Yeah, boy. I like to say that when things get real hot and greasy and fired up around here. So she hit it. I don't know if she been watching it. That's her thing, but I be saying it. Yeah, boy. Yes, sir. Listen,
shout out to Flavor Flav, chief on the Shinnecock Nation.
Yeah, boy. Listen, on a lighter note too. That's real though, because I remember I went to Mexico years ago, and this was back when they had like the little restrictions on the cruise where if you go out, you enter at your own risk. Man, me and my pops was out there riding damn scooters all throughout the damn island. We was getting nothing but love from the Mexicans, bro. I'm talking about, and I saw them riding in pickup trucks with choppers and riding on bikes with all black with choppers on their back.
Yeah. And so we got to be more scholastic and more what they call politically correct. I don't believe in being politically correct, but it's certain stuff that they giving us a hard time if we say so. We're going to try our best. I don't know how good I'm going to be out there. I'm going to do the best I can, man, but I might slip up here and there, you know. So, but we got to be more scholarly in the delivery of what we're talking about today. So it might not be as galvanizing as it would be with the seasoning of the special words that we like to use.
Yeah.
So we had to get that disclaimer out the way.
Yeah. All right. So Rod, now this is interesting thing. So I've been spending Dr. Malachi Z. York is still in jail, and we waiting on Larry to get released. And so I've been working on some on his case. And so I'm gonna drop it on his birthday on Thursday. And man, it's interesting. AI is interesting. So I went to the NEGPIFOR.com. If you wanted to find out about Dr. Malachi Z. York case, you can go to NEGPIFOR.com. They did something to the free Dr. Malachi Z. York.com website, but what I'm trying to say, I copied the whole NEGPIFOR.com, the whole website, and then I gave it to AI, and I said, tell me how to get Malachi out of jail, right? And the AI gave 3 scenarios that I'm gonna be dropping. It's more pieces to the tape, but this is the main part about the tape. And AI, it gave 3 options, but the main option that it focused on was Judge Ashley A. Royals. All the stuff. It said that Judge Ashley A. Royals, he sealed the files. He closed the court. He did a court date on a federal holiday when everybody was off. All the county clerks, everybody off on federal holidays. Why would you hold a court case when everybody off? How's that happen? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but AI dropping everything on how Judge Ashley A. Royals broke the Brandy violation, First Amendment, Doc's First Amendment right, Fourth Amendment right, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, all the way up. Right? They broke all of his rights. Right? And then the other angle, the main angle was that Judge Ashley A. Royals, and it gave me different ways to come at him. And then the next way that it said was Doc's sovereignty. And that's what my question for you is. The sovereignty, it said that Malachi's sovereignty. being that he a chief of the Yamasee Native American Indians. They said that was like their number one. That was a number one ping that AI pinged out of getting Doc out. So now, how did this play out? Being that Doc is a certified chief on the land, even with we don't know they on treaties of paperwork. They got the legacies of it. But how does the sovereignty play out with their court systems? It just based on what they say, or is it? Do they got to? I mean, they don't got to. They ain't honor it anyway. But how does that work with the sovereignty and the difference with the court systems and being put into jail?
Okay, first you got to realize that he's in there on a RICO charge. All them years is based on a RICO charge. We got it all confused because of the propaganda smear campaign, but he's in there on a RICO charge right now. Whenever they charge somebody with RICO, like R. Kelly's in there on a RICO charge, right? They told us he was going to trial for what? Human trafficking, right?
Yeah.
But he went to trial on a RICO charge. Right now, we watching Puffy. They telling us that Puffy is on trial for sex trafficking, right? And they're using all these other things, but he's actually in there under the allegations with a RICO charge. Spanish RICO mean rich, right? And we know that R. Kelly is an idiot savant.
Right.
He can't distinguish groups of people, so he was supposed to have been protected, right? Because he's a musical genius.
That's right.
But he's a social idiot.
Go ahead.
Right. He has the intelligence socially of a second grader and the educational capabilities to match.
Wow.
This is all public record. This is not nothing I'm making up.
Yeah, I heard all this. He used to be in the subway. That's how he got playing the piano.
Right. He borderline retarded, basically.
Damn.
And you charging the retarded dude with sex trafficking, and when you read and listen to the testimonies in his case, he was always at the studio when somebody brought a girl to him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They try to make him out to be a predator. I don't know whether he is or not. I ain't never met R. Kelly a day in my life. I'm just following what the actual situation is versus the alleged situation.
Right.
They use the sex cases in order to villainize them so bad, because don't nobody want to be associated with molesters and rapers.
That's right.
You can't even go to prison associated with molesters and rapers and expect to not be harassed.
That's right.
Right. So where is you gonna go? So that's the first thing we got to understand, how the propaganda machine works.
That's right.
The allegation of rape is always used because the evidence is not the rape itself, but the allegation.
Damn.
You got to remember that the key evidence in any rape case is not the rape. It's not the DNA. It ain't nothing but the allegation. Right? Now, the RICO cases always brought out when they trying to get at somebody's wealth.
That's right.
Now remember, the Teflon Don himself, John Gotti, beat everything until he ran into RICO. Remember that. The Teflon Don, John Gotti, beat everything until he ran into RICO. RICO is a government subversive activity. The government is using it to stifle men from becoming powerful amongst their community. In other words, take out the chiefs. Right? Now, the RICO charge was specifically developed to bring down the heads of corporations and organizations. It's in the history of the document. That means that there got to be something in that RICO case where they can sustain. Once you get a RICO conviction, it's almost impossible to get out on appeal. It's next to impossible because soon as the other judge see that it's a RICO charge, they know that you are a prominent member of the community. Whether you Trump at Trump Plaza or whether you Gotti in the underbellies of the 5 boroughs, it don't matter. If you are influenced, you are subject to RICO if the government want to get rid of you. Now, we know it to be designed to get rid of heads of organizations, right? But the most powerful organization that could ever manifest on the land is an organic tribe.
Go ahead.
We already know that they got a war declared against us from counterintelligence programs, how they infiltrated, how they hit the Panthers. And we already know they have a war program because the cocaine came in under Rex 84. Or it wouldn't have came up in the Iran-Contra scandal and we still wouldn't know about it. We would still be called it the Lord Alfred plan or the King Alfred plan. But to find out that it was actually readiness exercise, 1984, right, ties us back into the COINTELPRO under a different name, right? Because the description is different, but the purpose is the same, right? So when you are sovereign and they want to wage war against you, but they don't want your tribe to get involved, right? That's when they put your name on what's called the war rant. We say warrant, but it's the continuation of the original declaration of war waged with the arrival of Columbus in 1492. Right? This is why we mentioned jurisdictional supremacy, and we did that episode on understanding jurisdiction. We got territorial rights, and territorial rights is currently being enforced. It's just not instant. It's just not instant. The Air Force and the Navy, that's our admiralty jurisdiction, right? We supposed to be governing with the great law is supposed to govern land, air, and water, right? The land, which is the law of the land, which is the sacred great law. And the first principle of that law is love, which comes from the teachings of the mother. So it takes us back to the matriarchy, right? So under the law of the land, military enforcement domestically is done under National Guard control. You got Joint Chiefs of Staff. They got all of the branches of military, right? And when you do a domestic, right, a domestic action from the military of the United States, like toppling domestic enemies, because they oath of office to protect the Constitution says to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Once the domestic war was declared in 1933, they activated the National Guard, but the National Guard did it strategically by allowing FBI to keep records and CIA to keep records and then come in at this time and then take over. Because they discovered the discovery of the fraud cancels the contract. Once they realized that they was using the fraudulent corporate jurisdiction, now they wait on a competent heir. When I say heir, I don't mean AIR, I mean HEIR, as inheritable rights. Right? So now you have the corporate entity called the United States, and then you have the We the People entity that they changed the name of on documents from the Confederation of Tribes to the Constitution of the United States. And to defend that document, also have to defend anything that is grandfathered in. Anything, any law that has not been overturned right, can be used under the grandfather clause, even from a pre-existing system. This is why we had to go back to the oral tradition. Because before they said put it in writing, we said, come tell me about it.
Right.
You see the difference? Come tell me about it. I need to understand what you're looking at, and then I can look at it from my angle and see if I see it the same. Come sit down, talk to me for a minute. We forget that the tribes invented American Sign Language. Sign language was not specifically created for deaf people. It just was a valuable benefit they inherited. The sign language was created, the American Sign Language that all of the deaf people use was created by the tribes because we didn't all speak the same language.
Right. Makes sense.
So we had to teach the sign language. The sign language that gave birth to the American Sign Language also gave birth to Morse code because that's a different tribal system. The Morse code was from knocking on trees at far distances with hollow instruments, right? Or sometimes you use instruments that sound like animals screeching, but the chiefs know that that animal don't belong on this part of the land. That means that tribe from that part of the land is sending me a message. Right? Or else I wouldn't hear that particular animal. I wouldn't hear a owl that's native to New York screeching in Arizona.
Right.
Right. But if I hear that tribe in distress call from New York, it's going to sound like to me, there's the owl that's native to New York screeching in Arizona.
Right. Go ahead.
Right. So all of those things that struck terror in the enemies was actually communication methods. Right. So our sovereignty is tied into our ability to reestablish our jurisdictional supremacy over the corporate jurisdiction and to restore the matriarchy is the only way to restore tribal rights across the land. Because it's the oldest contract of the earth is the matriarchal contract, which designated earth as the feminine gender planet. That's how it's determined. Right. At onset of creation, it's the first contract. The patriarchs did everything to attack the matriarchy and tear it down, but one thing they never did. They never overturned the matriarchal rights of inheritance to be caretakers of the earth because their jurisdiction is automatically subverted by the prime creator who assigned the matriarch's jurisdiction over earth. You can go against God, but you can't directly go against God. You got to go against God in a roundabout way. Because when you directly affront to God and say, we overturning your rules, and God react. So in the process, they don't honor no laws on their books when it comes to them because it has nothing to do with them. All of the laws on the books across the land is only on the books to control the tribes from the land. We didn't have prisons before they came because we didn't need them.
Right.
We didn't have police before they came because we didn't need them.
Right.
We had the greatest problem resolution skills of any people on the planet because we didn't even have dungeons over here.
Yeah, wasn't no crime.
Wasn't no crime.
No, I looked it up, Raw, and they said the way the tribes did it, they had like a rehabilitation program. It was sort of like that, but it wasn't no prison. It was like where he sat down with the medicine man and he talked to had talked with like the clan mother, and they did like a psychology type thing on him to assess where he was at, and then they sent him on a mission or whatever they was doing to get to as far as his like his rehabilitation or something. It was never no crime like that until 1715. That's what I was going. Let's make it to my next question. Now the Moors, from what I found out, the Moors get the bright idea in 1715 to bring white convicts over here and start setting up the penal colonies. Could you go in on the penal colonies set up by the Moors all over? And could you go in what you got on the penal colonies?
Remember when I told y'all that They brought Huns, Vedics, right, and Mongolians that they had captured as prisoners of war and put them as they call them pauper villages in Europe. These villages was populated with POWs. They wasn't allowed to leave because if they got caught leaving, they get murdered. So they were setting up homesteads in these villages. These the villages we see the tax collector going to in Robin Hood, right? And so when they brought them over here, they didn't first bring pale faces first. First, they brought those people. That was around the 1619 incursion. The Moors brought their slaves with them when they came. They wasn't called Moors yet, by the way. In the 1500s, they wasn't called Moors yet, right? It hadn't caught on as a global description for brown-skinned, woolly-haired people. Its root word is Mauri, Mauri, which is French, right? The French descriptive term Mauri means like brown cinnamon complexion, right?
Dog skin.
So the term hadn't taken hold like it is now. The usage of the word Moor in colonial period America was very small, if it was even used over here. It began to be used in the 1600s and the 1700s, but it really took hold after 1776. 1776 with the American Revolution is when the word had its boom period, because now the George Washington challenge is at play. And this is why it became prominent to classify the two different groups that's trying to educate themselves above the condition. Enlil children and Tahuti children. This is the land of Tahuti. The land of Enlil is not on earth because he don't belong here. That's why he had to promise his children a piece of land when he created them, right? Because they all come from him, but they don't got no homeland. But everybody that's native to the planet got a homeland that they belong to, like the old Mississippian tribes all belong over here, right? We know that the Sudanese people, the Hadendawa, the Dinka, we know they belong in the Sudanese region. We know that the Zulu and a couple of other of the tribes, them short Bantu tribes, Twa, belong in South Africa because they've been there the whole time since the mining period of Manadapa.
Yep, the Sands man too.
Everybody is native except one group of people. And these is the people that's running around trying to convince us that they got a promised land for them, but he got them traveling all over the world looking for it. That doesn't make sense. You mean the prime creator, the God of all gods, the inventor of creation, don't know where his people belong?
Right.
Right. Why do you have to fight a war to inherit what your God said he was going to give you unless he was a God of war?
Right.
In that case, he ain't the creator. He's a warlord. And if he a warlord, he came to the right places because the Lord of War going to be over here when he run into him.
Go ahead.
Right. So the puzzle unravels when we start seeing how we all fit in under the terms, the references, the identification of people. Anybody tell you God picked somebody as a superior group of people is your sworn blood enemy. He just don't even know what he's telling you. God is no respecter of person. Not the real God, not the real creator don't care what you look like. The real creator only care what frequency you vibrate on. He don't care what you look like, where you come from. He don't care if you half dog, half monkey. if you vibrate on the frequency, if you don't believe me, you can ask the Hanuman. Right? Because the monkey god said that he would raise all of you up to be Hanuman, like himself. What was the problem with Hanuman? None of the gods could control Hanuman. They always kissing his behind, but none of the gods could control Hanuman. Think about that for a minute. They was always coming to him to solve the unsolvable problem, but they would always talk about him bad like he was a useless deity. And this is how you get the clone army of the Planet of the Apes through the contagious Sako Mao monkey man being seduced by the wise serpent Tupac Amaru. Let the snake rise up. Let the cobra dance. Monkey see snake. Monkey know where snake at, even when monkey don't watch snake. If they tell you somebody dead, you got to see the body. Because if you don't see the body, they on some BS. And half the time when you see the body, you only looking at a wooden replica of somebody that they told you died. That's why all of the corpses feel like concrete. When you touch them, it feel like they made out of wood. Because they made out of wood.
And it's the next. Go ahead. I thought you were finished.
People are paying attention, but they're not paying attention. But the monkey mind is waking up now. Because once you see the wise one rise up, the Sakuma, the monkey mind, even if he don't agree, can't take his mind off of it. Even when he doing something else, the Sakuma will always take you back, the monkey mind, to where the wisdom is, and that's why our ancestors called wisdom the serpent and the dragon. So that your Sakuma, your monkey mind, can follow the wisdom path through wherever it go, as long as you know how to do some monkey knocking. Gorilla knocking, monkey flipping. Right? So it's about the strength of the grip, holding on to your post. You can't be the master with the master grip if you ain't got that gorilla grip. Right? As soon as we realize that the gorilla grip comes from training, we exercise the faculty. Only by searching for wisdom will you find the serpent in his hole.
Hey, Rod, I got another question for you, Rod, because AI brought out some interesting things in that tape that I put out just a minute ago before we went live. It said that the 5 indigenous tribes were forced to sign treaties with the Moors, and they had to, and in this treaty, they had to drop all their culture and take on Moors culture. So I wanted that bring in the L's and Bay, because these same people they trace their bloodline back to the Ottoman Empire. And Doc makes mention of this. It's all coming to me in the Let's Set the Record Straight book. So when these 5 indigenous tribes had to sign deals with the European Moors, and they had to drop all their traditions, and they was forced to take on their religion, pretty much their whole culture, change their whole culture to Moors culture. What's significant about this?
They didn't change. They changed it to Ottoman culture, not Moorish culture.
Yeah, well,
You got to remember, conquistadors in Spain was the Moors. Huguenots in France was the Moors. And the only reason why the Turks or the Ottomans are Turks, they got caught into the war because they got conquered by the Byzantine kings in the Moorish Turkish Empire. Was the Moors that conquered Turkey. And when you growing up in elementary school, when we were, they always made mention of the change of Istanbul, that was Ottoman rule, Turk rule, to Constantinople after Constantine, which was Roman rule, which was Moorish rule. Because they was the Tuscans.
Ottoman Empire, all on the same people. They all the same guys.
Well, at different times, right? But you got to know when they come in, so you'll know what they doing. Now, remember, in the George Washington Challenge, the goal was to spin us around and confuse us about what part of the earth we came from, what part of the ocean.
That's right.
Are we from Europe, the Iberian Peninsula, or are we from Turtle Island? That was the challenge. We remember when we come out of the slumber from the blood magic.
Right.
Right. So if that was the goal, they had to give us a culture that wasn't ours.
Yeah.
Right. This is why they got a lot of the Mongolians is over here practicing Mongolian rites under the pretense of being Native American.
Right.
Right. And we know the difference in the Mongolian rites because they still practice them in Mongolia.
Right.
Right. But they don't practice the rights of the old Mississippians because they don't know how to put the message on the drum.
That's right. Damn. So
right. They don't know how to weave it in on the Delta Blue. Right. The Delta Blue is a frequency. It's a harmonic frequency of the throat chakra. Right. In order for people to be able to know who they are, we could tell our people by the sound of their voice. And what it tell you, my people will know me by what? By the sound of my voice. It ain't that our voice is so powerful. Right. It's just that through years, we always sound the same in every lifetime. So when they hear us speak lifetimes later, you know what I'm saying? They begin to gravitate toward that voice. And they can tell if you've been corrupted by modern times because your voice will crack. But you won't hear it. They will. Right? They'll tell you, I love to listen to that preacher speak, but it's somebody ain't right. That imam out cold, but somebody ain't right. Right? That brother know he can hold us down in this political storm, but something ain't right about him. I don't know what it is, but that ain't who he's supposed to be. He's out of character. He's not himself. Right. He's been ego seduced. He's been seduced by the ego. Unless he got seduced by an eagle. See, They play the word game. They call it semantics, word games. Right? But if you bring up etymology, those who practice semantics will get mad at you.
Go ahead.
All right. So we have to know how to recognize us when we come. And all of this stuff comes in on the frequency of the music and the dance. So our culture is going to outshine any culture on the land.
That's right.
And then we'll be able to trace us back home. Not off of no book. Only off reading the culture. But before you can learn to read the culture, some of us got to learn to read the book. We got to know the story they told, so when we reverse engineer the culture, we can see where the lies at, and then we can point them out. Man, this is what we've been doing.
Yeah.
You know, so in the George Washington Challenge, the goal was to give us the